Where did late night television go wrong to become a part of where we are in our society, where we bicker and we argue about everything? Even late night television has become a tinderbox. Who decides what's hateful and who decides what is disinformation? Sometimes disinformation is a matter of opinion. What happened to comedy? What happened to general entertainment that's for everybody? Those are the words. We don't know exactly what that means yet. The big news that's going around right now, everybody's talking about it. ABC, Disney, ABC's parent company, announcing that Jimmy Kimmel Live has been preempted indefinitely. Those are the words. We don't know exactly what that means yet, but Jimmy Kimmel Live has been pulled. A show that's been on the air for approaching 23 years now, believe it or not. You can see here Nexstar, which controls a lot of ABC affiliate stations, saying that they will no longer air Jimmy Kimmel Live on their ABC stations because of comments he made during Monday night's monologue about Charlie Kirk's assassin. And this is where we're at now in this society. We don't know the exact language that was offensive to Disney. We can assume that it might be. I'm going to quote the line here that I think for most people they think is the most problematic. Kimmel saying, "We hit some new lows over the weekend," during his monologue, "with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them." Now, you've probably heard about this. It's being talked about everywhere. I will preface this by saying that, yes, some of you may be aware, I co-produced a television program a few years ago with Jimmy Kimmel. It was produced by Kimmelot. And I don't really know Jimmy that well. I've never met Jimmy in person. We have had conversations via Zoom. We have texted before. Jimmy Kimmel has always been very good to me personally. Gave me an opportunity. I have to acknowledge that. He was good to me. But this issue, of course, is bigger than individual personalities. And we'll start with the fact that what Jimmy said is factually, objectively inaccurate. Linking this assassin in Utah to MAGA is just completely without basis. That's not an opinion. That is just a fact. There's nothing to base it on. Jimmy should have issued a mea culpa. He should have walked that back. He should have made some type of a correction on what he said due to the fact that it's not true. But this is where we're at now in society. Even late night television has become a tinderbox in this society. It is a far cry from the world that I grew up in, where moms and dads, and yes, in some cases enterprising children, would stay up late to watch Johnny Carson. It was America's bedtime with Johnny Carson. Democrats watched Johnny Carson and loved him. Republicans watched Johnny Carson and loved him. And why not? What reason did he give anyone not to? He would poke fun at whoever was in power, and that's usually what it was. It was a poke. He did it with Carter. He did it with Nixon. He did it with Reagan. He did it with whoever was the president. We all remember it. It would be a part of the monologue, but it was usually pretty lighthearted stuff. But we're into a different world now, where everything is so partisan, everything is so heavy, everything is so tribal, including late night television. So let's get into the meat of this. Jimmy Kimmel finds himself preempted indefinitely. Now, I want to be clear right out of the gate, I support free speech. I was clear about that last year during the election. Tim Walz saying that there's no right to hateful speech, there's no right to disinformation, rubbed me the wrong way, to say the least. Because who decides what's hateful and who decides what is disinformation? Some things clearly are disinformation. If you say that the sky is red, I can look up and see that, and I know that that's clearly disinformation. But sometimes disinformation is a matter of opinion. And you look at everything that is going on in this country, the two sides can't even agree on, what a woman is. All right? We literally have two parties in this country now that for the most part cannot agree on what a woman is. So who is in charge of deciding what is disinformation, whichever side of the coin you may be on? The party in power, presumably, is going to be the one that does that. So right out of the gate, I want to be clear. I support free speech, and I support somebody's right to be wrong. I support the free speech of people that I disagree with, and I support the right of people to say things that aren't even accurate, because that, in fact, is protected speech. Now, what we have here is a parent company, Disney, who has decided that they're going to shelve this show, at least temporarily. And that's their right to do it. You go and you say anything, your employer has a right to make a decision about how they feel about that. There's no problem there. That's Disney's call. They could have preempted the show indefinitely because they didn't like the way that Jimmy Kimmel combs his hair. And that's their right. They're the ones who make that call. Now, where I think we run into potentially some problems here is it feels like the Trump administration was leaning on them. In my opinion, FCC Commissioner Brendan Carr saying that television networks that air Jimmy Kimmel could face regulatory scrutiny. I don't know how I feel about that. Using the threat of government regulation to stop people from talking, that sounds a lot like what I was afraid of when I heard the way that Tim Walz was talking last year. And I'm a free speech fan. That supersedes any political party for me. Okay? I'm talking about free speech, so I'm not a fan of that. I wouldn't want the Biden administration cracking down on Greg Gutfeld either, because they don't like what he had to say. If that had been the case, I'd be saying the same thing. Now, part of this, we can really just look at the deterioration of late night television in this country. As I said, back in the Johnny Carson era, things were pretty light. It was a communal experience. People from all different walks of life, different social stratas, different educational backgrounds, they'd grab their snacks or they'd recline back and they'd watch Johnny Carson. And he would come out, do the monologue, the golf swing. He entertained us, and it was light entertainment, which is what people generally wanted at the end of the day before bed. When did we decide that what we wanted was heavy partisan talk right at bedtime? Who was that appealing to? But somewhere along the way we got there. Jay Leno and David Letterman, they carried on the Carson tradition pretty clearly, for the most part, into the 90s, into the 2000s. Dave eventually started to dabble in politics some, and even though I'll take Letterman over Leno, I wasn't a huge fan of some of the steps that Dave took in this direction. Leno, to his credit, tried to maintain the Johnny Carson ethic. But by the time we got into the new century here, Jon Stewart, I know that's not a late night show, The Daily Show, but Jon Stewart started making this kind of the style. And then Stephen Colbert, another Daily Show guy, goes on and gets his first show, The Colbert Report. And it became very political. And then it started popping up. Jimmy got political. Seth Meyers got political. And we started seeing late night television becoming a place where suddenly it wasn't a place for everybody to go and congregate in the communal way that we enjoyed Johnny Carson. It became different tribal brands, if you will. Colbert, Kimmel, Meyers, very one-sided. Half of the country tuned out. Greg Gutfeld has very high viewership now, largely because there were people who were left without a late night option because there was nowhere for them to tune in without hearing things that they personally disagreed with and didn't want to hear. Where did late night television go wrong to become a part of where we are in our society, where we bicker and we argue about everything? What happened to comedy? What happened to general entertainment that's for everybody? It's what I try to do on Super 70s. And I'm a little bummed that I have to start this program sitting here talking about this issue that quite honestly never would have happened if Jimmy hadn't allowed his show to get to a point where it became so hyper-partisan that he could say things like that, apparently without even thinking anything much of it, it would appear. I have to believe that he is probably shocked today. So where we are today, you make the wrong comment during your monologue and suddenly it's a firestorm. In this society, there's no opportunity for a correction, not that maybe he didn't think that a correction was warranted. Regardless, that's his opinion. And what happens between him and ABC is between him and ABC. What happens between him and the Trump administration may be starting to flex a little bit, saying, hey, ABC, we can lean on you if you don't make the right decision here. I'm not a fan of that. I wouldn't be a fan of it from any administration, any political party. But here we are. Jimmy, Stephen Colbert, they made a conscious decision to put politics over humor. And in doing so, late night television, as Gen X and even millennials once knew it, no longer exists in this country. It is just one more reflection into the mirror of how we seemingly can't get along, oftentimes even on the simplest issues. Late night television is no longer America's bedtime as it was in the Johnny Carson era. It's become another front line in the culture wars in a world that could desperately use more guys like Johnny Carson. And with that said, I want you to listen to the words of Johnny Carson himself, because Johnny was asked about this. It wasn't an entirely different world that we lived in back in those days. Sometimes it feels like it was. It feels simpler. It feels more innocent. It feels like before social media, there was more oxygen in the air and every breath that we took. But people were aware of these issues at the time. Johnny Carson got asked about it, and these are the words of the late night legend himself.
Do you get sensitive about the fact that people say he'll never take a serious controversy?
Well, I have an answer to that. I said, now, tell me the last time that Jack Benny, Red Skelton, any comedian, used his show to do serious issues. That's not what I'm there for. Can't they see that?
But you're not...
Why do they think that just because you have a Tonight Show that you must deal in serious issues? It's a danger. It's a real danger. Once you start that, you start to get that self-important feeling that what you say has great import. And strangely enough, you could use that show as a forum. You could sway people, and I don't think you should as an entertainer.
And maybe it's time now in 2025 for the pendulum to swing back towards late night entertainment that is for everyone and not just for a certain tribe. Across the board. Food for thought. I will say this. Back in the day, the only thing that we had to worry about when we were watching Johnny Carson in the day was his jokes dying. Those were the only deaths that really got discussed. I've always said there's nobody any funnier when their joke died than Johnny Carson. Sometimes it was funnier than when his jokes landed, quite honestly. We've all seen the clips of Johnny after a joke doesn't work. You can see him there. There he is. The things that he would say after that was even funnier. It was just such a laid-back, relaxed atmosphere. It was like you were sitting down with friends. It wasn't a forum to air grievances. It wasn't a forum to try to speak truth to power. It wasn't a forum to just speak to the like-minded. It was an opportunity for all of us to get together and have a little bit of fun. And maybe, just maybe, if somebody would heed the words of Johnny Carson himself, perhaps late night television can make a comeback one day. God help us. This episode, my friends, is brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, but at Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Simple, it's easy to play. All of your favorites are here. I recommend the max discounts. I have been making hay with the max discounts since this season began. I came through again this past week using a max discount on Travis Kelce. This week, Patrick Mahomes is the name to circle. when you go into Prize Picks, because if Patrick Mahomes can throw for 1 yard or more, you're going to have one in your back pocket, my friends. It's a freebie. It's like when you're playing bingo and there's a free space. Patrick Mahomes is your free space this week. Take advantage of that. I did. I'm here to tell you it can help you make money. Prize Picks is the best place to make money during this football season. Who's going off? Who isn't? You can make your picks in 60 seconds, and you can clean up without spending a ton of time on it, my friends. Download the app today. Use my code Ricky. That is RICKY, and you will get $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. That's code Ricky. $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. And if you need a little bit of advice from someone who is having a successful young season on Prize Picks, well, I'm your guy. I'm going to tell you what I have this week. I've got myself 4 picks that I'm making. And here they are. Hey, it's like that person who has the app where they just make the same financial stock market selections as Nancy Pelosi. They're getting rich doing it. Hey, look, I can't help you with that, but if you want to copy, if you want to Xerox my Prize Picks, make a little bit of money this week, I feel pretty confident about this. You can see what I've got here. I'm taking advantage of Patrick Mahomes there on the far right. That's going to be an easy one to hit, barring some type of catastrophe. And then I've got Tua to throw at least 1 touchdown pass against the Buffalo Bills. I believe he's got a touchdown pass in him. Ordinarily, he can do that. And then Joshua Carty, the LA Rams kicker, I've got him to have more than 1.5 extra points. And Evan McPherson, the Cincinnati Bengals kicker, the same. I think he's going to get 2 or more extra points if all 4 of those hit. I don't know. I think my multiplier is, it's like 4.75 or something. I'm feeling pretty good about it. I'm almost ready to call the steakhouse and go make my reservations with the money that I'm going to make on Prize Picks. You have the opportunity to do that too, my friends. So get in there and do it. Kyler Murray realized wisely that he had the opportunity to apologize. We were talking yesterday on the program, the rather unfortunate photos of Kyler Murray out there wearing his Michael Vick number 7 jersey along with his pit bull, which brought up a lot of bad memories for dog lovers everywhere, and probably for Michael Vick too, who has tried to rehabilitate his image as much as he can since that awful scandal from years ago. Here's what Kyler Murray had to say about his faux pas.
Yeah, in no way, shape, or form do I, condone, animal cruelty or dog fighting, whatever it is. For me personally, y'all saw me wear the Michael Vick jersey, a player that I admire very much growing up. And then, being home with my pup, who, my dog Trunks and Swoosh, they both get treated like kings. So it's not like, I'm in no way, shape, or form am I condoning that. But yes, I saw how it affected people and, decided to take it down.
All right, look, I have no reason to believe that Kyler Murray has anything but love for his dogs. But whenever you have to start a press conference answer by saying, I'm against animal cruelty, you know that you have made some type of misstep somewhere, because when was the last time somebody asked you your opinions on animal cruelty? Probably not recently. Kyler Murray walking it back. All right, I guess we can accept that. It's all that he can do. Look, Kyler wears the uniform of the Arizona Cardinals. I don't know if it's as pretty as this. Here's a uniform, my friends. Take a look at this. Look at that sweet bastard. It is fast food day, retro fast food day here on the program, this episode, and I'm 90% sure, roughly 90% sure, I might even be 95% sure that that's a Burger King uniform from the 70s, but I am leaving open the possibility that could be the Vancouver Canucks trainer shirt. If you know, you know. Fast food fashion was just better back in the day. There's lots of things about the fast food experience back in the day that was better. We're going to get into a lot of them today. But one of them was just how those employees were dressed. You could also say that just ordering your food from an employee at this point seems quaint. when I take my girls out, usually we go straight to a kiosk here in the George Jetson reality that we live in. But, NFL teams breaking out the throwbacks. We're going to talk a little later in the program. The New England Patriots are breaking out their throwbacks this weekend. Pat Patriot is going to ride again. I'd like to see those hats ride again. Well, I guess one guy's got a hat on and she's got a handkerchief or whatever in here. Look at that sweet bastard there on the left. He looks like he could have hung out with Roger and Dwayne and Rerun, Ronnie. What do you
Yeah.
What do you
Yeah, it looks
think?
like he was in Parliament.
He could have been a
Maybe he was in
recurring
Parliament.
Yeah, he looks like he was in Parliament, not Funkadelic. This guy here. I don't know. Somebody who is funky for sure, funky and fresh, Ron, is Shohei Ohtani, who we have seen go over 50 home runs again this year, hit his 50th home run this year on a night when he also threw 5 hitless innings. This is the comeback season for him as a pitcher after going 50-50 last year while he was unable to take advantage of that particular superpower. And, well, there's some thought here that the Dodgers could be considering, Dave Roberts perhaps, thinking that Shohei Ohtani might be a greater asset on the pitching staff if he's coming out of the bullpen in the playoffs, Ronnie. He's always been a starter throughout his major league career. We've seen them very, 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 very slowly ramp him up. This year, he was pitching 1 inning, 2 innings, 2 innings, 3 innings, 3 innings. He's up to 5+ innings now. They've got him stretched out at the exact right time of the year, and we'll see how Dave Roberts chooses to operate him. Dave Roberts is like Oscar Goldman. Shohei Ohtani is the Colonel Steve Austin of baseball, and Oscar Goldman is the guy. Dave Roberts needs an exploding briefcase. I'll tell you that. And back in the day, back in the early 80s, I'll tell you this, my friends, and you can relate. I was exploding when my Little League coach told me that we were going to Dairy Queen after the game. That's an American tradition that a lot of us can relate to. The official restaurant of we just lost 19-3. But our coach is actually a super nice guy. And we're having blizzards, baby. And with that said, I'm going to bring in the man now who has caused a blizzard to run through the loins of countless women through the years. I speak, of course, of the international streaming star who joins me from Nashville, Tennessee. He is, of course, Ronnie T-shirts. Ronnie T, how'd you feel about those fast food memories? We're just scraping the surface here. I've got so much fast food material that I've tweeted through the years, probably because I'm hungry all the time. So I just end up tweeting about food.
So
what's your favorite fast food place growing up? I mean, I know your mom and dad, ran a pretty tight ship. You were just getting a couple of bricks of ramen a week back in those days. But, when you did get to go, what was your favorite?
So one of my fondest childhood memories doesn't involve eating at the restaurant. It's actually picking it up and bringing it home. As every once in a while, we would head over to KFC, like my mom and I, and we would get the bucket of chicken, the big family-sized bucket of chicken, and I can remember sitting on my lap, and so I could feel the warmth from the bucket on my legs. And then that aroma from the fried chicken is just overpowering, and just the anticipation of getting home to have that. So that was like a big night out. That was like a big deal for us. I don't really remember like going to restaurants as a kid, with Tyler, I held 3 nights a week. And so it was that KFC bucket with the aroma and feeling the warmth. Like, that's my fast food memory as a kid.
That was surprisingly heartwarming, Ron. I don't even have anything.
You're not gonna make fun of me?
Have anything smart. I can't even make fun of you. That was tender and heartfelt and kind of beautiful. I wasn't expecting
But
Your
you know,
answer
it's
to me
like
is so poignant.
smell is one of the biggest triggers of memory, right? And so anytime like I smell KFC, like I immediately picture myself as a 10-year-old kid sitting in the passenger seat with a bucket of chicken on my lap, just waiting to get home.
Everything was a little better back in the day. Like I miss the KFCs having the giant bucket, like towering over them. Remember those days?
Oh yeah.
We just took it for granted. It was awesome. And now it's over.
Mm-hmm.
And I look back and I'm like, God, I should have appreciated those giant buckets more. Ron, I remember watching guys stand in the parking lot after a football game in Cave City, Kentucky back in the 80s, trying to throw rocks at the bucket, trying to throw them in the bucket.
And by guys, you mean you
That's
and your
what we did
friends?
for fun. No, I didn't do it. I didn't do it, Ron. I was a good boy. I really was. I was a good boy. I was wholesome like you with a bucket of chicken warming up your groin there.
You see, there we go. There we go. You made it unwholesome.
Well, I was going to ask you if there was a hole in the bottom of the bucket.
No, that was the popcorn at the movie theaters. That was the popcorn at the movie theaters.
That was a different. It's like if Ronnie invites you to KFC, don't go, people. He's asking you to reach in
down there
and grab a
Come on, get that drumstick.
Yeah.
Get that drumstick.
Keep digging. Keep digging. It's the smallest drumstick in the bucket. Take a look at this. I miss Dave Thomas also. Remember Dave Thomas? Wendy's owner.
Ricky, I'm from Columbus, Ohio. That's where Wendy's was born. So yes, I remember.
Oh, there you go. All right. Take a look at this. Looks like we got ourselves the Dave Thomas special right here. That everything about that says good eating in 1987.
Just dip those fries in that frosting.
What I mean?
We're good.
You've got a thing about your fries and ice cream.
So good, Ricky. It's so good.
You're crossing streams when you do that. I don't know. You're taking two things that are good and making them both less good. It's like the peanut butter and jelly bacon burger that my girlfriend loves to eat. Here's another one for you, Wendy's related, Ron. Remember the Wendy's greenhouse? Whenever I would dine inside a Wendy's, I would always like to find myself a nice spot in the greenhouse.
Rex mimicked that.
Relax. Did they?
Uh-huh. There were the one I worked at a Rax. Yeah, I worked at a Rax. And we definitely had one of those. And I will tell you, my vivid memory from Rax was we had these nasty polyester shirts that we wore, and it was almost like they were a grease trap. So, because you're just walking around and it just feels like there's just grease and oil in the air from all the frying. And I would go home and that thing would just reek to high heaven, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's
right.
Talking about Rax. Right. Hey, listen, I'm overdue to take the trip down the interstate to Joliet Rax.
Go do it.
I don't know. It may be on the agenda this weekend with my daughters. Last few times I've suggested it, I've been rebuffed, Ron, but I feel like I'd like to go. Look, I talk a lot about things from the past that I wish that we had more of now. Obviously, during the start of the show, I was talking about how in the past, late night television was better. There's so many things that I talk about that were better when we were growing up, better when we were young. One thing that I think I'm glad that we got rid of, Ron, is this. But I remember when McDonald's was like, hey, the environment looks like it could use a little more styrofoam. This stuff will last. The only thing that's going to last longer than styrofoam is Keith Richards, I think. Basically. McDonald's put everything in styrofoam. They would put their styrofoam containers in bigger styrofoam containers. It was like a Russian nesting doll of styrofoam back in those days, Ron. We didn't think anything of it. Just how it was.
Styrofoam was big back then, man. I mean, you've tweeted about the satisfaction of peeling the styrofoam off of a glass bottle of pop.
Yeah.
Like, that was a big thing.
Well, it's true. It was true. You dig your fingernails down in it. It was satisfying. I can feel it now, man.
You start pulling it off.
You could just leave your fingernail imprints in it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I would just give it one of those. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But Those were the days. Look at that chicken McNugget container. That's a 20-piece holder there, Ron. But look, the belle of the ball. Let's talk about things that we would like to see come back. Somewhere high on my list is this sweet bastard. Take a look at it, Ronnie. Served at a temperature that
why are you doing this to me?
Cannot sustain human life. I mean, well, just take a look at this. If you're under a certain age, as I tweeted, let me assure you, this apple pie was served at the surface temperature of the planet Mercury. All right? That thing right there would just absolutely destroy anything that touched it. Roof of your mouth, your fingers, your tongue. It did not discriminate. It was there to destroy. They'd serve it to you just the moment that it was brought out of the crackling hot oil, and it tasted heavenly.
Well, I guess I wouldn't know, would I, Ricky?
Ronnie ain't got none. Ronnie ain't got none.
Because his parents are on the welfare.
Yes, Ronnie's daddy's on welfare. I don't know what was hotter, Ron, the apple pies or the coffee. We all remember the coffee spill in the lap elderly lady who ended up having all kinds of skin grafting done. I mean, people made fun of that, but like she really, really got fucked up by that coffee.
Oh yeah.
And
speaking of hot groins,
it was way hotter than necessary.
Yeah.
Speaking of hot groins, she didn't need a bucket of chicken on her lap. She had McDonald's coffee. Ron, speaking of hot groin, this has nothing to do with hot groins, but Ron, I have no convenient segue, so might I just say to you, it's time for America's Poll of the Day, and let's go to it now at Super 70 Sports on X, where the eagle flies high and then drops down on your ass like the Dave Thomas special did back in 1987. Be careful with that chili, my friends. Here's what we've got today, Ronnie. And I don't know. I think this one shapes up as potentially kind of interesting. We'll begin with Reese's Pieces. It was E.T.'s favorite. Motherfucker came in from another planet. Elliot just lured him right in with Reese's Pieces. And the story I always heard was that M&M's, I don't know if this is an urban legend or if this is true, but M&M's allegedly declined to have M&M's used. So the people making E.T., I don't know if it was Spielberg or who, they decided to use Reese's Pieces. That might be bullshit. We should probably check that. But anyway, I always heard that growing up. If so, it was a good deal for Reese's Pieces. Second, we've got Draining a Wastebasket 3. And some of you know what I'm talking about. You give it a little James Harden step, lean back.
Pump fake.
Hoist one up after a pump fake, say Kobe. It has at least a 10% better chance of going in if you say Kobe upon release, Ron. That's just science. Third, we have Garbage Pail Kids, introduced by Topps back in the 1980s. Stickers that mocked Cabbage Patch Kids, Ron. And I remember there was Sticky Ricky, and you'd always look for the one that was your own name. And
well, they got that one right, didn't they?
Fucking people all over Columbus by that point in time. And then lastly, LL Cool J, who we mentioned on the program yesterday and was kind of on my mind. And he's never been honored in a poll before, so I figured that we should probably do that. Ronnie, break it down for me as only you can.
I will never turn down chocolate and peanut butter together, so I'm all in on those. Pro tip, I've tell you this about all kinds of things. Make them better, throw them in the freezer. They're way better in the freezer than they are just at room temperature. Draining a Wastebasket 3, I got to be honest with you, man. I, for some reason, felt like maybe I'd get discovered, like when I did it in public, that like maybe some basketball coach somewhere would see me do it and be like, oh my God, did that dude just drain that pop can from 17 feet? Like his form was impeccable. I need to go talk to him, see if maybe he wants to play on my team. Garbage Pail Kids, I have zero clue what they were until I just looked them up. They came out in 1985, so you were correct. I was doing something else.
Ron.
What do you mean, Ron? I was a sophomore in
You've
college.
never. It's
I
okay.
wasn't some little
I don't expect
nerd.
you. I don't expect you to have them stuck all over your Trapper Keeper. I understand. I'm just saying, how could you have never heard of them?
Okay,
They were a big deal. They were a cultural phenomenon.
Again, I'm in college, and then I get married 3 months after I graduate from college. I don't have a kid until 1996. Like, they just weren't anything that came up in my. I mean, I don't know. I'm sorry. Okay. I'm sorry. I had no idea what they were.
That's how it
I'd
is.
heard of them.
You know what?
I'd heard of them, but I didn't know what they were.
Well, you missed out. You missed out. I think rather than being
sure
angry
my life
with
would be
you,
so much better.
I should give you compassion. You deserve compassion. You never had a rancid Ron, raunchy Ron, or something. You know, I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna go on eBay later. I'm gonna find a couple of Ron stickers, and I think you at least deserve to have those at least, because it's making up for all your adolescence.
LL's number 2 for me on all-time favorite rappers, also on Def Jam with Beastie Boys. So LL's number 2 on Bad, Can't Live Without My Radio, Mama Said Knock You Out, I Need Love. I could just keep going on. And my God, did he have staying power, because the man is still relevant today. So good job, LL. So that all being said, if I'm going to stay true to myself, I'm going to go LL.
All right. As I've said before, one of the most surreal experiences of my life was watching LL Cool J sing Mama's Gonna Knock You Out before the Belmont Stakes. I did not have that on my lifetime bingo card, Ron, and yet it happened. Let's go ahead and bring in producer Tim here, get his 2 cents on this. Tim, you've heard Ron's analysis. How are you stacking these 4 today?
That's quite a performance. I'd love to see the Belmont. It's hard for me to vote for LL Ron when we can't hear it and listen to it. Like, I would love nothing more than to just dissect the beginning of that even. Yeah. Right.
Don't call it a comeback.
Blow the whistle. Yeah, no, it's an incredible
the whistle's
sound.
Too short.
Yeah. He really did create a sound that still, I think, resonates today. So I was going to go LL, but hard for me to do that when we can't hear it, which is a little bit of a bummer. But Ricky, maybe that's something to consider with the newsletter when you do your Spotify list, the songs we wish you could hear on the Ricky Cobb show, but all good. I think you hear it in your voice. Yeah. I do. Yeah. Have you seen footage of that, Ricky, from the Belmont?
I have, I haven't. I've never, and you know what? That's like the most obvious fucking good idea. I should go on there and
see if
look
I
it
can
up
dig
and
it up.
relive it,
Was
Make sure
part
that
of
it
the...
really, you probably aren't going to be able to find evidence of it. It's some
What year?
What year? Lie I've told myself. It was 2014. California Chrome was going for the Triple Crown that day and finished like a disappointing 5th. And that's before anybody had done it since the 70s, Tim. It had been since, I think, affirmed in 78. So we still had that, like, long gap.
That allure where,
Ricky, he performed on June 7th, just before the 3rd race at the Belmont Stakes. So I don't know if there's video out there, but there's definitely a story about
Ricky,
it.
was it out and it was outside? Was it? Wow. So it wasn't just part of the TV broadcast. He was, fantastic.
Yeah. He was like down, like close to the track.
Yeah.
As I recall, he went about 20 minutes.
Oh my God.
I don't know how many songs he did.
That's awesome.
But yeah, he went about 15 or 20 minutes. Yeah.
Shirt on for LL?
I had no
Shirt
idea
on
until
for
I
you?
was there.
No, Ricky had definitely no shirt for Ricky.
Yeah. I'd torn my shirt off long before.
Dude,
did you have a Kango on?
My apologies to everyone in attendance.
Hot summer sun, long lines at the Porta-John. Your shirt's coming off, man. Definitely.
Oh,
yeah.
Dude, the thing I remember the most is that the women just took over the men's room. Like, they just took over. Like, it was so crowded that the women were just like, look, we can't hold it anymore. And just like en masse, like 50 plus women just decided, you know what? This is a ladies' room now. It became one.
Yeah. Yeah, well, the people were well behaved. I mean, it wasn't total nuts, right? It wasn't like the infield at the Preakness, which I've been a part of, which is just nutty. What I've seen from the Belmont from afar can really be a shit show late in the day.
Yeah, it was crazy. I've never been to the Kentucky Derby. You know, that's one of the things that I say. I think sometimes, like, when you're near something your whole life, it doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal. Just growing up,
you can always do it. You can always do it the
being up
next year in your mind, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I can just do it
Yeah.
next year, and then next year never happens.
It's
And
quite
I never
a thing
wanted
now.
I never wanted to go to the infield's so crazy and whatever. And I wasn't interested in doing that, and I wasn't going to be in somebody's suite, dressed up fancy. So I just never went.
That's late for him
go
to be
figure.
doing that song, by the way. That's like the twilight of him still being cool enough, spry enough to, because that song at that point's got to be what, 15 years old?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I'm gonna find it.
I can't remember what year it came out, but yeah, it's if the
Mom,
footage is
it was
out
about
there
92.
somewhere,
Tim's
find
right. It was around 92.
Yeah, wow. That's awesome though,
Okay,
Ricky. I'm gonna
yeah.
find some of that footage. I'm interested to hear it. So listen, long-winded way to say LL. Super close to me voting for that, but I'm going to go Reese's Pieces, man, all day, every day. Garbage Pails kid's not a fan. And the Wastebasket 3, yeah, I think it was, for me, it was also more like I would wet the paper towel and try to throw it like a baseball, less of a 3 sometimes. And maybe sometimes intentionally hit the wall or the ceiling with the wet paper towel to be a little jerk. But all good, man.
All right, so for me, Reese's Pieces are great. I probably prefer Reese's Pieces to M&M's, but they're fine. Draining a 3 is the best. When you do, I used to do it all the time as a professor. Sometimes I would turn around from the podium. Usually it would be about 15, 20 feet from the wastebasket in the corner of the room. And on more than one occasion, I would turn around and I would say, if I hit this, I'm going to give everybody 5 extra points on the next test. And
nice.
Then I just send up an air wad, and everybody just groans because I suck. But on the rare occasions, where I hit one and I gave
Crowd
people
goes
some
wild.
points, the crowd went wild. Believe me, it's the closest I'll ever get to being a real player. Garbage Pail Kids were fun. I wasn't that into it. I was more of a baseball card guy, despite the shit that I was giving you, Ronnie. And then LL Cool J, I do like him. I am going to have to vote for Reese's Pieces. I think that's the one that's had the most significance in my life. So
yeah, let's
we can
fire
light
it.
this candle, as far as I'm concerned.
Definitely not on ice cream though. It's got to be
They get
semi.
too hard. They get too hard on ice
semi.
cream.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't
Semi
know.
warm. Yeah.
Oh no, that sounds like not a bad idea to me, actually. I've never done that. All right, it is going to be
Wastebasket.
Reese's Pieces.
Wastebasket in the
Taking
tip.
out a very spirited challenge from Wastebasket 3-pointers here. Did not go down without a fight today. We got Garbage Pail Kids setting square, just straddling the Mendoza line there at 10%. And LL Cool J, a little bit of a disappointing finish there, Ron. Less than 12% of the Super 70s audience, with over 4,000 votes in, is going for LL.
That's super disappointing that
disrespectful a little
Garbage
bit,
Pail
if
Kids
we're being
almost
honest.
got the same. Very disappointing. Makes me wonder about your audience.
Well, listen, I'll tell you this. As we get ready to go into a break, I think I might need something strong to drink. And when I drink it, I want it to be from this glass, because there's nothing that says I've had a hard day. I need to pour myself something strong. I need to reflect on everything that's been going on in my life, quite like this sweet bastard right here. Hard day in the office. Hey, listen, you fill that fucker up to Grimace's eyebrows with something that's strong enough, and all of your problems are going to go away very quickly. We, however, are only going to go away for a very short time, and we will be right back after this. We got a lot more ahead for you today, a lot of good stuff. It'll all happen straight ahead, right here, right after this, on the Ricky Cobb Show.
Football's finally back. So's the hard-hitting gridiron action on Prize Picks. Download Prize Picks and use code OUTKICK and get $50 instantly in lineups when you play $5. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
welcome back to the program, my friends, here on this Thursday afternoon in Chicago. If you enjoy Super 70 Sports and you enjoy the content that you see on this program, please head on over to YouTube and sign up for our brand new YouTube channel. It is the Ricky Cobb Show. All Ricky Cobb Show content is going to be there on YouTube in one place, conveniently located for you. So if you would head over there, hit the subscribe button, we would certainly appreciate it, and you will be the first to know every time that content from this show makes it onto YouTube, which is frequently, and we want you to not miss a moment of it. And I don't want to miss a moment this weekend of one of the best uniforms of my youth making a cameo appearance this weekend. The New England Patriots are going to class it up a little bit, and they're going to wear the old school. Look at that. Makes me think of Stanley Morgan, Stanley
Grogan?
Steamer. It makes me think of Steve Grogan. Get me a horse Kotex and let me wrap it around my neck. Holy Steve Grogan. The Patriots are going to be looking good this weekend. Look at that. And I've tweeted about it before. Patriots did a lot of things right during the Brady Belichick era, obviously. Robert Kraft has had a lot of success there. But the best Patriots uniforms of all time, unquestionably, are from that era. You know, Flying Elvis is what they call the new guy. Look at, once you see it, you can't unsee it. The current Patriot, he looks a little bit like Elvis. I know people will say, well, 6 rings. They won 6 rings wearing those. Hey, guess what, motherfucker? Maybe they would have won 10 if they kept the Grogans. Did you ever think of that? They'll look a lot better doing it anyway, I can tell you that. Somebody that's not going to look good this weekend is the Cleveland Browns, however. They're having a brownout. And I don't think that, I just almost want Micah Parsons to punish them for this. Ron, severely. The combo is called Alpha Dog, and it's presented by Dude Wipes.
Of course it is.
And I wouldn't mind seeing it get flushed right on out of the rotation. Nobody wants to see that. Ain't nobody got time for it. I like the Browns helmet. I like the Browns uniforms. Why are we going to do this? Well, I don't know. Nike, because Nike. Thanks, Nike. Nike does it again. Nike is not to blame, however, for this story that has gotten former British Open champion Darren Clark a little bit hot. The U.S. Ryder Cup team this year becomes the first Ryder Cup team on either side to ever get paid for their services. One of the things that has set the Ryder Cup apart, that has made it almost a singular event in modern sports where everything is about the dollar sign, is the fact that these guys, these multimillionaires who fly around on private jets, once every 2 years they show up and they play for country and they play for pride. That is not going to be entirely true this year, at least for the U.S. team. $500,000 for each of the 12 players on the team. $300,000 of it will go to charities of their choice, and they get to keep the other $200,000 as a quote-unquote stipend. A little something for the effort, I suppose, as Carl Spackler once said. Darren Clark, however, not a fan of this, saying that 100% it doesn't set well with me. The words of Darren Clark. Clark going on to say it's not about money. That's not what the Ryder Cup is about. The Ryder Cup was never about money. The Europeans would live and die just to make the team. And Clark going on to say that maybe that mentality is one of the reasons that the Europeans have had so much success against the United States over the last 30 years or so. We'll see what happens in about a week and a half at Bethpage Black in New York. We know that the Europeans are at least playing for Europe this time around because they are not being compensated for their time in trouble as this goes down. All right, now let's go into a little more fast food greatest hits Super 70s mojo here. And I'm going to start with a guy who seems to turn up he's sort of like a real life Forrest Gump. And I don't mean that as an insult. I have learned through being the Super 70s guy that there are certain celebrities from the 70s and 80s that just tend to turn up in odd places more than others. And one such person, even though I do not know why, is Alice Cooper. And look who Alice Cooper is having a beer with, Ronnie. That's right. None other than my fellow Kentucky Colonel himself, Mr. 11 Herbs and Spices, the great Harlan Sanders. And I tweeted, if you don't want to see Alice Cooper drinking a beer with Colonel Sanders, well, you're following the wrong guy. Because that's the way that I like to get down, Ronnie T.
I mean, Alice, isn't there one out there where Alice Cooper was in the back of a garbage truck? Like, you're right. He's everywhere.
Well, I'm not sure about that one. I know that there's one where he's with Gene Stapleton, a.k.a. Edith Bunker.
Who's
and they
looking
look like they're
good.
dressed up for like BDSM play. Yeah. There's one that I saw the other day, Alice Cooper with Paul Lynde and Elton John and a dog, I believe. There's another one. Alice Cooper became good friends with Groucho Marx. There are photos out there of Alice Cooper hanging out with Groucho Marx, Ron. Yeah, why not? As one does. Alice Cooper, though, for a guy who was so fucking scary. I remember when I was in junior high school, I was in Dale Wathel's art class. I think we were in 8th grade. And I'm sitting at a table with a kid named Jamie Klein. And he looks at me and he says, man, you know about Alice Cooper? And this is back in the days, Ronnie, when, you know, the Ozzy Osbourne biting the head off of a bat and all of that was already the thing of legend, right? Mm-hmm. And so you got Alice Cooper who's wearing the makeup. He's always got some snake over his shoulders. He looked creepier than Ozzy Osbourne, if anything. And so Jamie Klein says to me, and this is my dumb 13-year-old ass in Horse Cave, Kentucky in 1984, let's call it. He says, man, Alice Cooper's nasty. He's nasty as hell. He ate poop with a spoon. Ron?
He ate poop. Do that. Why did
poop with a spoon?
Jamie sounds like a young Jerry Jones.
Alice, he defecated into his hand, reached into his back pocket where he produced a plastic utensil, a spoon, with which he began to consume his own feces. Dallas Cowboys. It was something like that. The thing that you got to realize, Ron, is I only have like 7 voices. So I just, so Jerry Jones, Jamie Klein, anybody that even sounds vaguely like that, they all get a variation of that voice. But I believe that for a few, partly believed it. Wasn't sure, but it seemed, I'm like, what kind of a crazy man eats poop with a spoon? Is he just dipping in there and,
dude, those rumors were crazy.
With the baby vroom to his mouth. Yeah.
Those rumors were crazy when we were kids, Ricky.
Richard Gere. Right? Rod Stewart's stomach pump rumor. Richard Gere and a gerbil.
Mikey,
How did those get started?
Mikey Pop Rocks, Jimmy
Pop
Walker,
Rocks.
Jimmy
Blew
Walker.
up his
I don't
stomach.
remember how Jimmy Walker died, but he died. It was crazy, dude. And we had no way of figuring out if it was real or not.
Right. There was no way. Like, our Google was just like older kids. You know what I mean? Like, back in the 80s, like, we didn't have Google. We just had, like, some guy who was like a senior.
No, that ain't real.
Like, you know anything about Alice Cooper eating poop? Alice Cooper didn't eat no poop with a spoon. Okay, well, Bobby said it's not true. So that's all we had to go on. I'll tell you something that is true, Ron, however.
Ooh.
Going to Long John Silver's used to be an experience. I know we've talked about it, but I want you to consider, my friends, take a look at this. Remember when Long John Silver's had a little dignity, walking along that fake fucking pier to get inside? It just lent the entire dining experience an exotic air of piracy. Sometimes you'd be in there eating and you'd be like, oh my God, I hope we don't get into a cannonball fight. I hope they don't make anybody walk the plank while I'm here. Get that malt vinegar going on those crumbs. Look at that rope outside. It was like you docked your car to be able to go in there. Ron, is really what it amounted to. Dock the Buick, honey. We're getting chicken planks and hush puppies tonight.
Oh, those cracklins, Ricky. Whatever they were called, cracklins, whatever.
Better.
So good.
Yeah, crumbs. We called them crumbs, but
we called them cracklins.
And the malt vinegar, I was addicted to it, man. We bought a bottle of that malt vinegar when I was a kid. And I remember putting it on my grandpa's fish because he would go out catch fish and cook it fresh. It was really good. And, he'd throw a little Long John Silver's, throw a lot. I'd have the fish swimming in it. Who am I fucking lying to, Ron? I couldn't get enough of that stuff back in the day. Here's one for you. Taco Bell hasn't gotten a shout out yet. Seems like it would be wrong to have a fast food episode and not talk about retro Taco Bell. Take a look at that. First of all, take a look at that architectural glory right there. Can these fast food places try a little harder to create some ambiance? We've talked about, they all look like banks now. Whereas back in the old days, it looked like a place that you would go to have fun. But I don't know if you recognize who that is sitting there enjoying some Taco Bell, Ron. I'll give you a guess, and then I'll tell you if you don't know. Well, you can read, so you can
I can read,
Ron.
Ricky. CCR.
It's John Fogerty. It's John Fogerty and Creedence Clearwater Revival. About ready to sing poop, poop, poop coming out my back door. Ron, after having Taco Bell. No? Yes? I don't fucking know. Let's keep going, shall we? What's next? There we go. Pizza Hut. Look, I've talked about it. Pizza Hut is to me, Pizza Hut is the unquestioned restaurant fast food champion of the 80s. They just are. Everything about it, it just connects to something that so many of us can relate to. My Pizza Hut tweets consistently. I talk about Linda Carter breaks. I could have Pizza Hut breaks and be almost as successful. That's how much it strikes a chord with people. And here's one for you. If you wanted to have Pizza Hut at home, you could go to Montgomery Ward's, and for $14.99, you could just set up shop with your own Pizza Hut. And I could have captioned this in a lot of ways, but the way that I elected to caption it was, do you have Galaga? No. Cocktail Table Pac-Man? No. What the fuck kind of Pizza Hut are you running? What kind of shop is this? I bet that bitch doesn't have a jukebox in there either, Ron. This is well, you're nothing but a fraud. This is a fraudulent Pizza Hut. I'd be very unhappy with the dining experience there. I bet you she doesn't even bring your food out in a real skillet that's piping hot.
Those drinks are in that hard red plastic.
Skillets. Yeah, she doesn't even have the right cups, but here it is. Look at this. This is one of my all-time favorite tweets. This is one people say to you, do you get upset when your tweets are stolen? Do you get upset when you see your tweets floating around without attribution? The true answer at this point in time is, for the most part, no, because at least somebody decided my shit was good enough to steal. It's a compliment if you can just wrap your mind around it in this way, but take a look at this. If you've ever seen this anywhere, it's mine, okay? Remember when Pizza Hut pan pizzas were basically a culinary delicacy? They bring them out in a real fucking skillet, piping hot at about 700 degrees Fahrenheit, even hotter than the McDonald's apple pies, Ronnie.
Mm-hmm.
Your third song was kicking in on the jukebox. Maybe Duran Duran was starting to sing The Reflex. You'd already gotten in the top 5 on Galaga with a pretty strong outing on your first quarter. And then you go over, you sit down, you pull out a slice of that, you tear all of the skin off the roof of your mouth. And you were living like American royalty and didn't even know it. And with that, Ronnie, we reach the portion of the program where I take my hands off the steering wheel. I move over to the passenger seat. I let you swing around and do your thing, and it goes a little something like this. What the fuck, Ron?
So we are theming the shows now, and today's retro fast food. Today, Ricky, I have themed WTF. We're going to start with Chase Bandelick, a Chicago Bears fan. So he made a commitment. I guess he probably did it online. Probably didn't think too much of it. Like, it won't be that bad because this guy, he owns a gym. He's an ultra runner. So running's not something that he doesn't do. But he said, you know what? Every time the Bears lose, whatever the point differential is, I'm going to run that many miles. Ricky, do you remember what the score of last Sunday's game was? Do you remember what the score? Score of the game was Sunday?
I think it was 52-21, if I recollect.
You're correct. Now, your quick math tells you that's a difference of how many points?
That's about 31 miles as I think about how I don't want to do it right now.
Let's watch Chase here.
I'm going to run a mile for every point the Bears lose by. Yep, you heard that right. For every point the Bears lose by, I'll run a mile. Bears are playing the Lions today for a divisional matchup. Let's see what happens. Bears lose by 31. Let's run these 31 miles.
Mile 1, mile 2, mile 3, mile 4, mile 27, mile 28, mile 29, mile 30. And that's mile 31. It is 10:05 p.m. right now, and I might just sleep until next week's game. Make sure you're following, because we're doing this for the entire Bears season. And I will see you next week when the Bears play the Cowboys at home.
I can't relate to long distance
Oh gosh.
running. Like I had a buddy back at the college, real great guy named Josh Fulton. Shout out to Josh Fulton. He's a real one. Good guy. I miss him. And we do stay in touch some, but I miss our conversations. He was one of those guys. And he's a long distance runner, man. Like he just goes and does it. And you look at him and he looks like a regular guy. He's not one of these little like waif thin dudes who, you imagine when you think of the Boston
Phantom
Marathon
weight.
or whatever.
Yeah.
He's a dude. Yeah, he's a dude. He's like, and
How far does he run? Do you know how far he does?
I've
He does marathons, or does he just farther than marathons?
Marathons. He does full marathons, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he was considering doing like even longer ones. Possibly. I think he was toying with I don't know if he did it or not. He might have done it. I'll have to ask him actually. But I know at one point in time he was talking about doing a 50 mile.
Ricky?
Because there's some people out there, they do the ones like marathons aren't long enough for them.
No, I have a friend Clark from college, and he's my age. Dude does 100-yard rate or 100-mile races. And I talked to him. I'm like, what is wrong with you? Like, why would you do that? And I'm like,
it's insane.
Like, can't even wrap my head around being able to do it. Like, I can kind of wrap my head around a marathon because when I was in college, I got this wild idea that I was going to be able to. I wanted to run the Columbus Marathon. I didn't know how to train for it. I just started running as far as I could, and I got up to 13 miles a time. And I'm like, well, with adrenaline, I could double this up. I'm young and in shape at that time. 100 miles, Ricky. Imagine 100 freaking miles. I
got side stitches right now just talking about it.
Yeah.
And I say this as somebody that went out, like yesterday I walked like almost 19,000 steps.
Good for you.
I'm not a stranger to physical activity. You know what I mean? Like I would think my cardio is actually pretty decent compared to the average person my age, believe it or not. But I just don't. Like I never was wired for it. Did they just get to a place where they're kind of just like in a trance? And
I do remember when I was running, I would get into a groove after about 2 or 3 miles, and it just felt like, oh wow, I can do this. But at some point, you just start getting blisters on your feet, and then just the pounding on your ankles and knees.
Toenails.
Oh, yeah,
nipples. Nipples start bleeding. Did you ever get bloody nipples,
dude? There's not much that hurts more than nipples rubbed when you're like playing hoops or running. Oh gosh, what a terrible memory you just brought up.
Yeah.
Wow.
Bloody nipples. I also saw your band Bloody Nipples down. I think it was down in Printer's Alley in Nashville years ago. Yeah, it was It was great. What the fuck else have you got, Ron?
So sticking with Bears, it's almost, so today's the 18th, 23rd starts Fat Bear Week in at Alaska's Katmai National Park. And so what they're going to do is you can go to explore.org and you can vote on who your favorite fat bear is. And the reason they're so fat right now, and you can figure it out.
Are there skinny bears, Ron?
Not in the fat bear.
I've never seen a skinny bear before. I thought that was the
you've
only
never
kind.
Look at this guy right here. So what they do is they hang out at the
That's how my cat's built.
They hang out at the Brooks River and just absolutely gorge themselves on salmon because they're about to hibernate for the winter. But you said you've never seen a skinny bear. Look at a bear that comes out of hibernation. It's kind of creepy. So anyways, Ricky, next week you can go to explore.org and you can vote on your favorite fat bear.
Well, fucking it. Do they have names? Is that like
they do?
Like
they
Ted?
do. They all have names. Yep, they all have names.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. All right. Well, maybe I'll get in on that. I'll just vote for who has the best name. Is there like a Leon? I feel like I'd vote for Leon.
They're going to announce it on their YouTube channel on the 22nd. So I don't know at this point.
All right. Well, Ronnie, let's speaking of fat bears, shout out to William Refrigerator Perry. Let's go to poll replies here right now, Ron, and see what the people are saying. This is the first poll winner this week that didn't clear 50%. By the way, Ron, the first three this week took over half the vote by themselves. We can see here that Garbage Pail Kid's falling below the Mendoza line. Reese's Pieces is your winner today. Let's see what the people have to say about this one. I got to believe we're going to hear from the 3-point wastebasket enthusiast. Juan Lauda says, I hit a long-range hook shot into the wastebasket outside the men's room at a Buc-ee's last summer, and every dude in line cheered and most high-fived. Might have been the greatest sports-related moment of my life. See?
I get it.
That's the power. That's the power of the long-range wastebasket shot. It just fires other dudes up a little bit. I don't know if women relate to it or not, but if you're a guy, there's just something in our DNA. We have to do it. Rex Crumb says Reese's Pieces versus M&M's remains a Super Bowl level candy battle. Ron, who do you have in that battle?
Gosh, I love peanut butter and chocolate, but I really do like M&M's, Ricky. I'm gonna have to go regular M&M's.
Yeah, I'm gonna ride with Reese's Pieces. Although if we're talking about M&M's with actual peanuts in them, that might turn the tide for me. I may have to go with those. I prefer my M&M's to be the big old fuckers with peanuts in them. Here we go. Ova, Ron, there's some Garbage Pail Kids for you. You can peel them off. You can stick them on your stuff. It was just, funny, sort of semi-disgusting in some cases pictures of
wrapping.
There we go. Yes, we found it. Nice work from Colin today. Yeah, look at that.
That is fantastic.
It's Wrap and Ron. There you go. Saves me an eBay purchase. I can't possibly do better than that.
No chance. That's so good. Jared, please send it to me.
I like classy, well dressed there. I like the tie, Ron. Good stuff. Is that it? Is that it for comments today? I don't think we can.
How can you top that?
So it must be. Can't. Got to end on a high note. Colin understands that. You go out on a high note. You leave them wanting more, Ron, is how you do it. Ronnie, thank you, as always, for your contributions to the program. My thanks to Molly and Colin in Nashville, to PA Jared and producer Tim, our whole team here. But most of all, I thank you, you sweet bastards, because without you, there's no show, and I love you for that. I really do. You can find us, as always, on Fox Nation, outkick.com, and YouTube. As we said earlier, The Ricky Cobb Show is the name of our channel on YouTube. Please check us out there, and we wouldn't mind it if you subscribed. It wouldn't hurt our feelings. You can find us in podcast form as well on both Apple and Spotify, and our content is also available if it is more convenient for you to consume there. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and of course X, where you will also find me as the Super 70 Sports Guy. Most of all, let's make a deal right now that we're going to meet right back here tomorrow when we will get your weekend started early, and we will get it started right when we tee it high and let it fly with another episode of The Ricky Cobb Show.